Greetings one and all to this week's Framecast highlights video. You're about to listen to 15 minutes taken from the 2-hour-ish episode that was recorded live on Tuesday. If you want to listen to the full episode for yourself, please click on the link in the description, on the card in the cards thingy of the cards, and on the end slate. And as usual, I hope you enjoy.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Framecast. First off, Xeno, how excited are you for Keanu Reeves or Cyberpunk 2077?
Oh man, like I was totally down for getting the game straight away, regardless. But when I saw that, I was just like, I jizzed in my pants. Honestly, I was just completely taken aback when I saw him on not only on stage but in the damn game. I was just like, oh my god.
But yeah. So today, me and my Scottish fellow right here took the chat. They're saying you're Scottish now.
What? How the hell am I Scottish?
For some reason, they think you're Scottish. Well, anyway, so last weekend, Cyberpunk 2077 came out with a pretty great announcement. I saw the trailer, I saw the reveal with Keanu Reeves. It's been a game that's been on my radar for a while, and now I'm like, oh my god, this is pretty damn great. And I've been seeing all over the internet people saying, wow, Cyberpunk 77, should you pre-order it? It's kind of gotten us to the interesting question of, is there anything that could be considered good about pre-orders? Should you ever pre-order a game? First of all, I'd like to start us off by looking at what is the use case of pre-orders? Why do pre-orders exist? And what is their general use within the gaming industry? And has that changed over time? And what was in the past and what is it now?
Pre-orders used to be a good staple indication of how well a game would do before the game went live, how much interest there was in the game. Back then, you had the very limited forms of communication that X game was coming out. I remember the PlayStation 2 game, like one of the title games, Zone of the Enders, one of my favorite games ever. The way I learned about that was through a gaming magazine for the PlayStation 2. Now you can find out stuff left, right, and center about any video game. Back then, pre-orders were a clear, solid indication of how much stock a company, like a high street company, would need to actually have. But with pre-orders now, it's just an incentive to get the money off you now and just give you the middle finger later.
I was thinking about this because you mentioned stock, and this is what I believe to be the main justification. If I think about pre-orders, what will be the main justification for buying a game or spending money on a game before it's even out, before it even has a playable demo, before it even has a playable state? It's just an announcement. Why would there be, in any case, a justifiable situation where you would pre-order it? And I think that it definitely comes down to the time when you had to take stock of, like, hey, we need to buy physical copies of the game. And let's say that a game like, I remember when the Call of Duties came out in the PlayStation 3 or a GTA 5 would come out, these games would sell out within 24 hours. So if you didn't have it as a physical disc, you couldn't play it. So putting in a pre-order, I think, was your way of securing a copy on the launch day. Like, you would have it, and otherwise you would be uncertain.
This was the straw that broke the camel's back. Destiny 2, right? Mm-hmm. When I paid probably about £65 for it to get base game itself plus the first season pass, I was so upset and angry. The campaign, I completed it in 6 hours. The plot was stupid. The background wasn't there. I didn't know any of these characters. The speaker. It's like, speaker. What does your deity say to you now? But what? Who's the speaker? It's like, he says nothing. But who's the speaker? And the reviews were coming out before Destiny 2's actual release, and I was like, oh, this looks horrible, right? And I was going to cancel my pre-order, but I bought it on the Blizzard Battle.net client, and you cannot get refunds on that. I was so angry.
I can totally feel your pain in that, because I had the exact same story of Anthem. I pre-ordered Anthem on the idea of being able to do the 2 demo weekends and stream them, and because I figured Anthem would be the EA's take on Warframe, where maybe they would have a version of Endgame, which we're going to talk about next week, by the way. So I put my money down on it, and it was Anthem. I mean, we all know how Anthem turned out. It was pretty bad. Okay, first of all, have you pre-ordered anything post Destiny 2?
No, I
Okay.
refuse to now.
So when you pre-ordered Destiny 2, did you get anything physical with it, or was it a digital download?
Digital download.
So did you get the thing that you're talking about? Because the things in the shelf behind you, they're really great, and it's like people are a sucker for it, and I'm also somewhat of a sucker for like the Warframe statues. When I saw them for the first time, I was like, oh my god, I gotta have that. If the reason for pre-ordering would be either to make sure that you have it on day one, which with the digital download age is no longer the digital download, with digital, it's no longer a case. And the second thing would be to own a physical thing. Well, I feel that with the pre-orders that I've done, I think that I've done Mass Effect Andromeda and I've done Anthem. With both of them, the only thing that I got was like a digital thing, like a digital tracks. And I was like, I don't really care. And maybe like a Founders Edition thing in the game. I don't really care. So they're not really physical things most of the time. And when they are physical things, look at Fallout 76, they are not always the things that they're made out to be, which people put money down for. So how important, okay, actually, let me rephrase that question. How much importance can we give to the physical things, which I can totally understand your point. People love having physical items, collector's items. However, how much of importance are they to pre-ordering right now, when you see that a lot of pre-orders that we just described didn't really have physical things?
Anyone that knows me knows I absolutely love Nier Automata. I love that game. I had so much fun playing it. When I actually have a holiday and have time to myself, I plan on playing through the whole thing again, right? I absolutely love that game. And if I could have bought a collector's edition to support the game further, I would have. Right? I don't care if it would just be a dust collector sitting on a shelf or in a box, doing absolutely nothing. But there are some games that, even though it's a single player experience, you just get nothing but joy for. Another one, for 2 weeks, I had nothing, no internet connection or anything, and I ended up playing Dead Cells for a crazy number of hours. I fell in love with that game. It had improved so much over the year or so that I had owned it, but didn't barely play it. I was just enthralled, captivated by it, to the point of I'm actually going to buy it again for my Switch, right? Just so like I'm supporting the developers again, So sometimes a single player experience can warrant a collector's edition. And I suppose the question is Cyberpunk 2077 one of those single player experiences?
Instead of just looking at the cosmetics and how much they mean, because that's more like how much would this cosmetic possibly mean to you?
Yeah.
So if I were to sell this exclusive item in the future to a single player game, then it's highly likely that less people will care than when it's like, hey, this game will be around for 10 years, and 10 years later, you're still going to have this thing if you buy it now, and other people won't, so you can feel like you're exclusive, and some people are suckers for that, so get it. It might be a bigger sell. I think that that's pretty straightforward in the sense of more people will do it when they can show it off, and less people will do it when they can't really show it off because single-player experience. However, I think that you said something interesting when it came to you would buy the collector's edition for Nier Automata to support the developers. And I think that that is an interesting track to go down to. because if things are either like material or not material, you can get it. Like, it's up to you. It doesn't really matter too much, but you can choose whether you want it or not. However, I think we just got to a third point with Warframe, and I think that this is also where something like Excalibur Prime, because when Warframe launched as a game, they just laid off half their people, and they were down to 44 employees or so, a very small number. They just launched this game, and every single founder that put their money down basically ensured the survival of this game and the studio. And later on, the Prime Access came in, but the founders were very, very important for the survival of Digital Extremes and now Warframe. So there would be a very good place for pre-orders in order to ensure a survival of an independent studio. But does that have a place as well for bigger games like Anthem or like Destiny that have big publishers behind them? Do they need that pre-order too?
My good sir, you have asked a genius question.
Yeah.
I think this often is the sort of like root of all issues, is what happens when publishers get involved. So a similar situation, DLCs, right? I remember the whole premise of a DLC was to allow a company, a developer, to partly finish the game, then get it over the last hurdle and out the door, right? And then, you could, download the content later. Yeah. So it wasn't. The idea of DLC wasn't meant to be paid for additional content, right? But greedy publishers, greedy money-grubbing, a-holes, decided that, you know what, we can make more money. So in order to actually get this is what like did my head in. In order to buy the base Destiny 2 with the first 2 expansions, with Forsaken, the most recent update to it, it was like £90 odd, and I'm like, how can you justify this? How can you justify £90 odd for a game that has maybe 12 hours worth of content? So I personally feel that publishers, they are out to get as much money as they physically can out of the consumer. Case in point, Anthem. They showed off the demo of that. God, was it 2013?
Yeah,
2014? It was a tech demo at E3, right?
Yeah.
And it was gorgeous. It was just like, oh, that looks amazing. It's so cool. And then we get the tripe that we've got now, right? It's just staggering how much people will buy into the hype.
All right, allow me to play devil's advocate in this, because I can understand your point of view, and I can understand, like, I see this too, and I'm not gonna proclaim that EA is the best game developer and overall or the best game publisher. And I'm like honestly, as I said, there are companies, and I know by now very well, and I think a lot of people know that, like, it's this meme that don't buy from EA because EA is greedy and they just want money. So when it comes to creativity is kind of on this psychological scale of like openness. So how open are you to new ideas? Being creative means that you're very open, and being very open means that you're not really a person that works well with the tradition. You're always looking for new ways. And as good as that is, if you're constantly trying to innovate and constantly trying to look for new things and encountering the chaos and trying out new ideas and coming up with them, a lot of them won't be good. Then you also need to be able to like bring it to the masses, bring it to the people that are interested in it. In order to produce that, you need people that know how to do things and know how to do things repeatedly and know how to do it with tradition. And that's where a publisher comes in. A publisher most of the time is not like, as I hear you talk about it, is not really this creative entity that strives for new ideas and comes up with these great franchises. It kind of takes these things, takes these ideas from like these small developer studios, and then it's like, hey, this works really well. However, the thing is, a small a small development studio might be like a bunch of creative people. However, that doesn't mean that they know how to run it in a long-term business plan, and that's what they do. However, what happens is once it goes into this tradition, once it goes to like the publisher with like the tradition of bringing it out every year, and the like creative people move out, what you tell, then like it kind of deteriorates over time.
That was awesome. So to paraphrase, because I see that we have a little confusion in chat.
Yeah.
The point is that not everything you do as a creative individual or group can be a golden goose, right? Mm-hmm. I've done stuff that I absolutely despise, but you came up with a brilliant original point. Like this is what publishers were supposed to be. They were supposed to be this font of knowledge, right? Something that they could go, hey, look, we have seen Maxis Studios do Sims-like games, and you know they've done this, they've used these techniques. We're going to suggest to you that you use those similar techniques for your RTS. Yes, they're not the same genre, but we think that this one feature, this one principle could be shared across both things. And that's, you know, that is what a publisher used to be. They used to be a font of knowledge that could provide revenue to make sure that your game could produce a golden goose, or maybe even a silver goose. It didn't have to be gold, so that not only you could benefit, but they could benefit as well. So it was like an investment. But over the years, people have found that we love rinse and repeat, right? Simpsons episodes, right? Family Guy, so bloody formulaic. Yeah, there is nothing truly crazy and original. Same with Call of Duty. That bloody franchise is just like rubber. Oh no, FIFA. Yeah, that is the pinnacle of rubber stamp copy of a game, and those franchises are what tell publishers it is all right to produce another can of baked beans, right? Because people will buy it. So, I certainly say, good sirs and ladies, don't pre-order games. It just tells them that what they're doing is all right. But
no, I think we're getting closer to 2 hours, so that's also a good place to stop. I wanted to address this. I don't think I've addressed it at the start of the stream or the podcast. Is that the show is called the Framecast, which most of you might have assumed was the Warframecast. Woo! No, it's not. It's about anything that's on the frame. We could be talking about different games. We could be talking about movies. But don't worry, all you tenant out there, because next week we're going to be talking about Warframe and the game.
Anyway, cool. Right. Well, thank you very much for coming, listening, and whatever. You know, if you have any suggestions for future topics, please leave them in the comments below in the YouTube videos. So you can find the full 2-hour version of this on youtube.com/postmalonegames. And you can find the highlights video, which should hopefully come out this Friday, on youtube.com/Xenogelion. No one knows how to spell that, so don't worry about trying.